All right, back in the basement to hopefully do a quick update on the JuggernautAI powerlifting program. I'm actually in between sets of 10 on squats for 6 total sets right now. So although the break is appreciated, I don't want to wait too long. I know I have a tendency to be a little wordy, but I want to give you an update on the JuggernautAI powerlifting program after a full year on the program. Last time we spoke 6 months ago, I had mentioned maybe transitioning to the power building program. And if you sign up for powerlifting, you have access to power building as well, or vice versa at no extra cost. And while I did that for a couple of weeks, I just found that I missed the frequency of doing the main compounds and pretty much exclusively those compounds and variations. I'm not as big into hypertrophy work, even though I'm doing sets of 10 right now on squats. And I also really wanted to do a powerlifting meet. I hadn't done one in almost 2 years, and I really wanted to get back on the platform. I think it made the most sense to do a powerlifting specific program, even though there is a test out built into the power building as well. So I wanted to give you an update on that. And I gotta say, my powerlifting meet, which I did in the middle of October, went really, really well. In fact, I set 2 Rhode Island Masters state records. So first of all, I am 40 years old, so I can compete in the Masters division, although I also did the open class as well, because chances are in Rhode Island, you're not gonna have a lot of people in the Masters division anyway. But I did Masters and open, and I set a state record for both the squat, which was 585 pounds on my second attempt, and my total, which was 1,515 pounds. So that was a huge win for me. In fact, I also did that weighing at a body weight of about 217 pounds, which is the lightest I've ever competed at. And when I take a look at my DOT score from that meet, it actually matches my all-time best PR total of DOTs 4 years ago, before I had 2 kids and when I had a little bit more time to dedicate to training. So the fact that I was able to meet my all-time best from 4 years ago while being 4 years older, being a lot lighter, not having as much time to train, is just a real testament to how well this program has worked for me, and one of the reasons that I give it so much praise in all my posts. I've really enjoyed it. In fact, I'm at a point right now with the program where I'm squatting 4 times a week, benching 4 times a week, deadlifting 2 to 3 times per week, and still making progress, because over time of that year and my own inputs, the program has adapted to a way to allow me to do that and still finds a way to balance frequency, intensity, and volume in a way where it's not going to wreck me and allow me to complete my training. So really loving the program still, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to give this update, because I haven't been talking about it a ton on YouTube, but I do post a lot about it on Instagram, and I post a lot more of my training on Instagram as well. I know recently with my videos, they've been more review focused. I'd like to get back to strength training and tips on how you can get your squat, bench, and deadlift better, but Instagram is just an easier outlet for me at the moment. So I want to just give you that update. Overall, super happy with the program. Powerlifting meet went great. I want to sign up for another meet probably in mid to late spring again, and hopefully maybe pushing some all-time best PRs and totals, which again, I'm really looking forward to. I also want to take the opportunity to answer questions quickly that I get all the time. Number one, with the program, how long does it take to train? So for me, on average, training 4 times per week, my sessions last anywhere between an hour and an hour and a half. And to be honest, the hour and a half is mostly because I find a lot of ways to waste time in between sets, like filming YouTube videos, posting Instagram clips, maybe just scrolling my Instagram feed or wherever the case may be. If I didn't have my phone or take videos and pictures during my training, I would say all my sessions would last around an hour. One of the ways I'm able to do that as well is by supersetting where I can. So that might be some of my main movements. So for instance, I can superset bench in with either squatting or deadlifting to expedite that. And in almost all cases, I do these giant supersets for my accessories where I might have shoulders, arms, and triceps, or let's say, for example, quads and hamstrings and maybe calves in some instances. I'll put all those together and just do these giant supersets to really expedite the time. But for me, I'm really never in here longer than an hour and a half, and that's being generous given how much time I waste. Another question I get all the time is, what if I don't have access to a lot of equipment? I only have a rack and a barbell. Can I still do the program? The answer is yes. And again, I've covered a lot of this in my 6-month review, which I'll link that and a lot of the other videos I did in terms of a day in training, a week in training, a max effort week, a test out week, peaking, all that stuff. But for the most part, the great thing about the app is you're able to easily switch out exercises. So obviously, being a powerlifting focused program, squat, bench, and deadlift, you're gonna need a barbell for. But there's tons of assistance exercises for both that main lift as well as some of the accessory things like biceps, triceps, shoulders that you can get away with a very minimal approach, and you'll be able to find an exercise that's really like-minded that you can swap out to make sure that you can do it. So as long as you have a barbell and some weights in a rack, you can really do this program to completion. Now, speaking of that, one of the other questions I get from people is, can I use this program to do other types of lifting, maybe not powerlifting focused? And my answer always is, yeah, you probably can, but you gotta realize that this program is meant to get your bench, squat, and deadlift as strong as possible. The power building side, while that's a lot more hypertrophy as well, it's still bench, squat, and deadlift focus where you're going to be looking to get that as strong as you can, relatively speaking, in addition to hypertrophy. You can switch stuff out. I know Kurt from the Kurt Locker is doing some strongman stuff in his now, but I don't think it's ideal, right? It's taking something that it wasn't meant for and trying to adapt it. I will say the Juggernaut team has been looking at getting other things out. They've recently released their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program, so there are other options out there. Lastly, before I sign off and get back to my sets of 10 on squats, which I'm not looking forward to, but I'm dragging this video out a little bit, is I will be giving away, in conjunction with the Juggernaut team and Chad, 3 one-month trials of the program. So they had a 2-week trial in the past, and you can actually use my code BASEMENT to save 10% off your subscription fee. But I've talked to Chad and asked if he'd give me 3 one-month free trials to give away. So I'll be doing that. It'll be on Instagram. So if you're not following me on there, make sure you do. If you have any other questions about the program itself, leave them in the comment section below. But in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.